Adversity? Bring it. The struggle? We welcome it. Snooze on life? Never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on.
We are back, No Snooze episode 56. This is No Snooze. I'm Mike Pirelli, co-host Dave Regina, AV Mastery by Claudio. Do you like how I say that, AV Mastery?
The wizard.
He loves it. Thumbs up from Claudio. And on this podcast, we talk about how to be better as fathers, husbands, professionals, real estate investors, gym rats, bodies, models, whatever you can list.
I like that.
I added the bodies, models
That's
this
good,
week.
yes.
And today we're going to talk about, so if you want to jump around like we do in our brains, you can go down to the chapters on YouTube, click around, kind of like ESPN we are now.
Okay.
You know, you can go to the segment of like, is Durant going to get traded, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
So today we're going to talk about the father figure update. We're
Yes.
getting dangerously close in our fat loss challenge.
No more dad bods.
Yes.
We're going father figures.
We're going to talk about kind of new projects we got going on. And then we're going to throw some current events at each other.
Mm-hmm.
I got an interesting one.
Nice.
I don't know if you're going to be interested because it's about movies.
Okay. I probably haven't seen it, but.
We're going to do some recommendations. I don't have another pair of pants under this pants. We're going to talk about the topic criticism.
Yes. Handling criticism, constructive criticism, and then also like some self-criticism stuff. I'll throw some stuff at you.
Self-criticism. Okay, I like that. I think I broke my microphone last week when I got too aggressive. And then we're going to hit him with a Dave's Dime and a Miguelito's Mantra.
Nice. Are you going to introduce that piece on your neck?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. So in the mornings when I forget to shave the night before, and our guy, what was the guy where I didn't shave for the interview?
JB.
JB
Yes.
Spizzo.
Yes.
I've shaved every day now for JB. Every time I think about that, I cringe of like, I didn't shave for a veteran. I'm sorry, JB. I'm trying to make it up to you. So anyway, I put in a toilet paper piece around my neck so that I don't get blood on my collar.
Very smart.
Right?
Looks good.
I got very sensitive skin, and I bruise like a peach, David.
It looks good, kid. So let's get right into it. Podbod father figure update. Before we get into the actual fitness stuff, I just want to put out there, and of course it now became a political thing. I actually got my first vaccine. My wife and I, yes, for COVID-19. Somehow this became a political issue. I'm just a firm believer in doctors, in science. The science is saying that this vaccine will eventually eliminate the coronavirus. Not that I was exactly scared to get it because
The beard blocks off any potential risk.
But, I mean, for the most part, I'm a healthy individual, right? The Crohn's disease did qualify me, and also being an essential worker did qualify me a little bit earlier.
Forgot about that.
Right. But the truth of the matter is, before COVID, we were trafficking 700 a day in the facility. Now we're down to 180 to 200. And some of those people are older individuals. So knowing that I would potentially be asymptomatic and then be spreading it to somebody like my grandmother or something like that didn't really sit well with me. You know, I was thinking of the baby as well. We're not going to get the baby vaccinated right now. I don't even think that's in the talks. But just wanted to put it out there that I got vaccine number 1. Was feeling good. Arm wasn't sore. My wife, I think because I have some nice shoulders.
I don't even know if the vaccine got into your body because it probably got stuck.
She was a little sore, but it's sad for me to see that it's a political issue right away. So I just wanted to put it out there and let people know that I did that.
I'm proud of you. That is exciting. How's the experience? Was it a little nerve-wracking?
It was good. I'm not going to lie. This is how it was in my head. So this
You mean
nurse,
you love needles? Is that what you're telling everyone?
No, but the nurse, she was feeling my my upper shoulder, kind of squeezing it about 6 times. I was like, come on, are you feeling?
She's like, what is that, 10%?
Yeah. And Karina was like, you're delusional. She probably just looked at it and jammed you just like everybody else. But
You know what? I actually think along those lines where someone makes eye contact. In my head, I'm like, wow, they're really checking me out. And they're probably just like looking at me because I have a toilet paper piece I'm in there.
I have an answer to your question on the fat.
Yes.
Finally.
I can't wait.
Finally.
I watched back the last episode. I said, if he doesn't show up with his fat number, be pissed.
Right. So I listened back to it and I was like, all right, I got to get it. I have 26 pounds of fat on my body.
Wow.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right, I guess.
Were you surprised by it? Happy, mad? I'm always curious to see what your reaction is.
I didn't really know how to quantify it. Yeah, so it's 26 pounds. Hoping to get down to like 25 for the 10%.
Oh, so you only need to lose a pound of fat to get to 10?
Yeah.
So you got it in the bag.
I'm hoping. I don't know. So now we'll get into the
the update.
the update. So full transparency here. We got 26 days to go. I am on 62 out of the 260 workouts for the year.
How is it only 26? Last episode it was like 40.
33.
Holy hell.
Yeah. So I had an epic cheat meal. Shout out Matty Reg, my brother. He finally got his CPA. He had to take this exam over and over again, but he came through. So we celebrated with a mighty cheat meal. Mom made some pasta, crushed the almost 3/4 of the box by myself.
The box of pasta?
And then Matt and I, we almost ate the entire Carvel cake by ourselves.
Ooh, ice cream cake, right?
Yeah.
You got ice cream cake?
Yeah, with the crunchies inside.
I go back and forth on ice cream cake.
I don't know, man. It was just too good, and because it was my cheat meal, I went a little bit crazy. So I opted out of a body scan.
What do you mean?
I didn't do one.
Oh, you didn't weigh in?
No.
Wow.
I didn't weigh in because I was going to go today before the episode, and I'm like, you know what? I need till Friday to try to get back on track. And then knowing that I have 3 weeks still to go, right? So last time I weighed in, I was 11.3. I weighed in 11.3 twice in a row, though.
Yeah.
So
wait, 2 weeks in a row? Or
yeah,
11.3,
11.3.
11.7, 11.3.
Yes.
All right. So
Right.
you bounced. And
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where I'm currently at. I'm still sticking solid to the diet. Same stuff as we spoke about last time. Protein is high. Carbs are getting lower. But you know, the last 3 weeks, Mike. I mean, I gotta give it everything I got.
Wow. I am a little surprised that
Why?
I think I'm sensing that you're taking the foot off the pedal a little bit.
No, absolutely not. I just don't want to give myself. So I can get we'll talk about criticism. I'm very critical of myself. So I don't want to give myself the opportunity to see a bad result and then get in my head about it and then start feeling bad for myself.
It's
so
smart.
what I want to do is work my ass off up until Friday, get the scan on Friday, deal with the consequence if it even went up a little bit,
Yeah.
and then know that I have to hammer home. But I want to
Hammer home. Love
Yes,
it.
I want to give myself the opportunity to bounce back from this cheat meal because it was excessive.
I know. I love a good cheat meal. You know how I feel about cheat meals.
I know.
The thing that I'm thinking in my head is like I was banking on Dave to achieve it, so at least we can be like, someone got
Somebody
it.
got it.
And I don't get me wrong, I'm going to do it, but it's going to be a sprint. Like it's going to be, I'm running through that finish line. I'm like jumping around trying to sweat out the last inch of fat or pound, whatever you want to say, minuscule piece of fat so I can hit the 10. It's going to be a close one.
I know. I think for both of us, again, if I had to bet, I think I'm going to achieve the goal. Because if I don't, I will, again, extend my T and make sure that I get it at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm coming in hot. Talk to me about your full update.
Okay. So in my head, I'm like 1% a week, 1% a week,
Yep.
right? So I was worried going into this one. I weighed in with Manny.
Okay.
Manny was back. It was a
Manny
Friday.
Fridays,
Manny Fridays, Mike Saturdays.
Saturdays.
I'm gonna ask both of them. I might go on a Friday night and a Saturday morning the last 2 days. You realize Easter is April 2nd?
Yes.
That's not good.
So I was going to ask you, what if I weigh in on the Friday before the Monday?
Anytime after March, in April, anytime in the beginning of April before the
Okay.
5th, you can do it.
You're okay
Yeah,
with that?
so like if you
Okay.
hit it, I'm going to need every day.
Okay.
So I might have to do like a midnight, 11:59 on
That'll be messed
March
up.
5th.
I'm going to invite you
Or,
for
April 5th?
Easter weekend. After I hit my 10%, I'm going to be like, Mike,
Yeah.
come eat with me.
So I went in, weighed in. I had a terrible week of workouts. It just so happened it was a tough week with Livy. Dana, you've been picking up the slack for me. Work's been crazy, and she's been stepping up in the middle of the night, getting up where she always has, but a little extra now. I try to reciprocate as much as I can, but she is really taking the brunt, so thank you. And it was just a tough week of workouts. My diet was good. My diet was perfect. So I was like, listen, if I have any progress, I'm going to be happy.
Yep.
But this is not going to get it done. I knew I couldn't do the same thing the next 3 weeks. So I weigh in 14.6.
There he is.
Down 5, not
There he
enough,
is. Well,
right?
0.5.
Point
Which is
five.
good.
Down 0.5, needed 1. I'm behind on my pace. So what I did immediately when I got home is I looked up a treadmill for under my desk so I can get my steps in. I had it for the first time yesterday, and I put in 17,000.
That's a big
I'm
day.
testing it at home right now. So I don't know if it's going to make it to the desk because work's been crazy.
Yep.
But that, I think, is my golden ticket. I think I got to get my workouts in, get it, not rush anymore with my weightlifting.
Yep.
So I get a real good lift. And then throughout the day, as long as I can get it done before I get home at like 5 or 6, and I don't have to worry about getting the steps in, I'm going to try to hit 20.
So how
20
many
a day?
How many miles is that?
That was 8.3 last
That's
time.
a lot of miles.
It's a lot.
That's good.
And the big thing is there's no real recovery. Like, I feel fine.
Yeah, because it's low intensity, steady state, right?
Yeah, and I
That Jay Cutler's a big. Most bodybuilders are
here's my thought,
because
right?
they're too jacked and they pump too many steroids, so they can't run.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But here's my thought. I'm hedging my bets because either I'm in the office or at home, right, and I'm walking, or I'm out showing houses and I'm walking.
And you're walking.
So I'm going to be constantly. Well, I haven't sat in days. This is the first time I'm sitting in days.
So you're walking through the 10%.
I'm going to try to walk right through the finish line here.
I see you, and I'm with you.
And my total body fat, I think, is at like 30.1. So very strong showing.
That's
my
awesome.
weight's lower.
The total body fat.
207,
So I was gonna. I'm over here
'Cause you have
thinking
more
that this
muscle.
was a formula. I'm thinking this is a
is a
formula.
formula,
No, until I read right on the scan, there's something called the body fat mass that tells you in pounds right on our scan how much it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So why? I
it's
was
at the top. So
oh,
it says 30
I
or
wish
whatever.
I knew that because I
Yeah.
would have gave you the answer weeks ago.
Well, I thought you knew that. I mean,
Oh man, I don't know.
I watch videos on it, like how to break down your scan.
Smarter than me, man.
Some would
good.
say.
Coming in hot. You look good.
I was surprised. I had to do another notch in my belt.
Nice.
I had to take a scissor physically and notch my belt.
Wow.
My weight has not moved much, but my
That's
fat
good.
keeps coming off.
That
So
is-
I'm not going
that
to
is
fight
awesome.
it. Easiest diet I've ever done. Haven't really been too crazy about the carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of making sure I'm not eating like pastas.
Yep. Not doing the Dave on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So after the weigh-in, I had a little cheap meal, not a huge one, because we had dinners or drinks with someone in my office, and I had like frozen pizza from like 10 years ago. Terrible. And then after that, I didn't cheat all weekend. So I
Good.
think I'm gonna have to
Smart.
limit the cheats.
Yep. How about Saturday? I know we're gonna get together.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't.
Tough.
What's Saturday?
Isn't that Brother Bill's birthday or?
Yeah, we might. Depending on we
You
might
might-
not be.
you might
'cause we're
skip
going
it?
Friday.
I might skip it too.
No, we're not skipping.
No, I might skip
We
it
have
too.
Friday with him, and then
Yes, that's
so
true.
with the baby and
Yep.
timing, we got to figure it out. But
Smart.
Happy birthday, brother Bill.
Very smart.
And Liz's birthday too.
Speaking, is it?
I think so soon.
Speaking of frozen pizzas, CV was a.
What a transition.
Well, no, listen. He had told me before, and he spoke 3 weeks ago, and we allowed him to punt 2 weeks straight. So
this week is a bye week.
he's
It's a bye week, guys.
he's
Sorry.
back. No, it's part of the accountability
Check you guys
factor
next
here,
week.
CV. People want to hear an update from you. I want to hear an update from you. So how you looking?
Tough guy. Real tough guy. Update is no bueno. That's why, why we wanted to get a bye week. Have not been. I mean, we've been eating a little bit, okay, but the reference to the frozen pizza, it has become a staple over the last 2 weeks or so. Just the move has been crazy. It lasted a lot longer than I thought it would, and just between the move and fixing the house around and work and being just all over, eating was not always a priority, or prepping or getting it ready was not always a priority. So, sometimes you have to go into the fridge or the freezer and get that good old frozen pizza out.
Did you or no?
I love frozen
enjoy.
stuff. I do.
It is pretty good.
Any fitness routine back in the mix yet?
Negative.
Yeah.
Weather's getting better though.
Right.
I've
No, that is great.
which I think it's make it
but
easier.
Right now, it's just been moving stuff around. That's the only thing that I've been doing. I haven't been walking. I haven't been doing anything. So that's not been good. And I did weigh myself today, kind of anticipating that this moment would come. I was hoping to see a miracle without me even trying, but that was not the case. I ended up gaining 1 pound, and that was my update for
All right.
the week.
Not terrible, but you're still on the hook for 50 pounds.
Correct.
When is the date
Correct.
for that?
We got to look back at that
Mike
episode.
Peretta,
I don't remember.
We're done talking.
We're going
Mike
1
Oh, I was
year.
curious.
We're going 1 year from that date.
Okay.
But no, it's good. He needs to give the updates. You got to hold himself accountable. We got to hold him accountable just like we do all the time. Right?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and life happens, man. This has
That's the
not
thing.
been an easy time.
We talked about a little bit in the last episode, but the more you can kind of lean with the wind,
Yep.
and you have backup plans and different ways to do things and not be so rigid, the easier it is to stick with stuff.
Correct. So last week, I figure we do like either a work update or a baby update, depending on the week. So I have some good news with work. Speaking on I think it was our goals episode, but back last year, the social media entrepreneurship, right, finally came to fruition.
Wow.
So some would say that it failed, right? Because I technically didn't get it by the timeline. I was denied the raise. But we just kicked off last week. We have a group of students ages 18 to 25, right, and young adults. Some grad students in there as well. Some good interns. So it finally, it's not as big as the initial thought was because we've had to scale back with funding. But it was nice to see that I didn't give up and the team didn't give up on a project that we knew would work. Yes, the timeline did not, play into it. But when I talk about the fail versus the fall, if we would have just stopped giving up after we heard no, then this would have never happened. But we kept going. We kept putting it in people's ear that would be able to give us the funding. And it's working out. It's coming to fruition, man. So I just wanted to share that because it was a nice thing last week.
Congratulations. That's big.
Yeah, no, it was nice. Hopefully they get really good at it and we can pull them on to No Snooze.
I don't want to talk poorly about any type of government, but it's got to be even more satisfying knowing that you put it through a lot of red tape, I'm assuming.
Well, you know what's funny about this whole thing, and think about this, right? You know better than anybody when it comes to content. If the town and the county would have invested in this when I originally proposed, prior to COVID, they would have had me on the hook when everybody else was home, and I would have been responsible to making sure that our content was going out.
Yep.
So I kind of, in my head, I know they listen, some of them, but I was like, you made a bad move here. But I'm glad that you now see the benefits of it, and we'll move forward.
And I think that in the government space or public service, I think they're like 5 years behind in technology. So you're light years ahead of it.
I think 55.
Yeah, I had a nice gap for the Greenwich real estate market as far as technology, and then COVID kind of woke everyone up to everything. So now that gap is quickly closing.
No, that's awesome. I have a couple questions. I have a question for you. So there is an opportunity in the mix very early on, but I need some advice here.
Yes, sir.
So it's in Greenwich,
okay,
and it would be an investment property.
Hate that place.
It would be an investment property. Now I have the ironic opportunity, and my dad laughs because he's like, of course this would happen to you.
Yeah.
I get a phone call from this lady who I have, my family has a good relationship with her. And she's like, look, I want to give you an opportunity to buy this home prior to it going on the market. So I said, well, one, I'm interested. I have to figure out the funding, to get everything done. But I wanted to know, she had a price in her head that seemed a little high to me. So then I could tell that, and she's an attorney, by the way, so she's very educated.
I didn't know that.
It's not like she's just an old lady that doesn't know her stuff. But she did believe that the agent that she was speaking to early on was trying to list this property too high. So she said, you know what, I'm going to reach out to a couple people, see if they want an opportunity to grab this thing off the market. I need to know from you what the play is here, because she doesn't really have an understanding of the value of the home. Right? And I was doing some research on Zillow and Realtor.com, very base level. But what's the play there, Mike?
I think if you can educate her, I mean, first off, great opportunity, right? Anytime you can pick something off market before it hits the public's eye, if you think about supply and demand, the more people that see it, the more demand, the more the price is going to go up, right? Typically, especially in this market. Insanity. Multiple offers left and right. So right there, you're ahead of the game. Second thing is, if she doesn't really know the value, you should educate her and be fair, give her actual comps and explain, like, listen, this is what sold recently. I'm not saying your house is worth this, but even assuming, let's say it's worth a little more, you're still in this ballpark, right? So knowing that we're not hitting the market, you're saving a ton of money on realtor fees, scumbags, realtor fees, all this other stuff.
Which is what she wanted. She wanted that.
The thing that you're going to be saving her is the headache of dealing with all the tenants and coordinating all the showings and getting the house ready. And then if someone, God forbid, in an inspection, you'll do your own inspection, but if it's public and it's listed, someone finds something wrong, they have to disclose it to every other party.
Correct.
So it can get messy. You miss the market, all of a sudden your property's stale. So a lot of advantages. I would give her the data, and then if you can come to an agreement off market, for you, make sure the numbers work in a worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, these tenants never leave and the rent never goes up. Do I have enough cushion where it makes sense, right? You never want to overextend, especially with an investment property, especially in a town where you want to hold on for a long time.
And my immediate play on this, so one, I would want to get my brother and sister involved in the deal.
Nice.
Just because I think it'd be a nice, little family thing to start with. And it's something that I know we're all interested. They're young. I want to get them involved early. And it would help me, obviously, to get them involved as well. Then the big play there is that it is a multi-unit. Mom is in Greenwich anyway, right? So instead of renting, like if we're putting money back into a family house and then it's a comfortable spot that mom can live in as she gets older, I'm thinking it's a win-win.
Is it totally rented out as of now?
It's totally rented out.
So you got to get the numbers on that as well. You figure out if the rent is under, that's great because you can say, listen, it's currently generating this amount of income, but I know when they leave, I'll be able to backfill it with a higher rent.
Right.
If you want to put a little work into, fine.
Yep.
But as is, do the numbers as is, and you could say, well, they're paying X. When they move out, I can get Y. So it's not the end of the world if they leave.
Beautiful.
Right? You get the leases, make sure they're on leases. There's a lot of work to do,
Yep.
but it's a good opportunity.
We will need to discuss further.
We'll chat. I'll help anyway.
So talk to me. What do you got going on family-wise, work-wise? What do you bring to the table today?
So I just want to talk in general, like work, life, kind of figuring out what's the next growth step strategy. Something I kind of think about constantly, and I don't make any. So I make like a mental goal of something after something dramatic happens. So my dramatic situation was I almost crashed my car. Not like bad, but when you're pulling out and there's blind spots?
Yes.
So I look down quick because someone's calling me, and then I look up and there's a car like flying across, and I'm like, oh my God, we almost just died.
Wow.
And I had clients in the car. So, I mean, I'm being dramatic, right?
Yep,
But in my head, then with a kid, you're like, oh my God, can you imagine if I left my family like with nothing? Like, yes, there's something, but not to where I want to be. So then you start thinking, you're like, all right, how can I be safer and figure out a more efficient way to be in a car? Because I'm in a car a lot. And
get a driver that drives a tractor trailer.
Well, tractor trailer, right? Or you get a driver. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get my own driver.
I'll drive for you. I have a Tahoe. I'll drive you around.
Yeah, we can do that. But you think the market's starting to pick up. I have a couple listings coming on the market next week. It's only getting busier. It's kind of drinking through a fire hose with real estate. It's like there's nothing, and all of a sudden everyone wants to list their property. So with all that going on, I'm like, all right, well, I make all my phone calls in the car. The reason I was late is I was on the phone with clients. I plugged in the most recent address, which was 191 Hope Street, which is not this address. And I ended up saying I'll be there in a minute because I was just on the phone, hands-free, of course, and just looking at the GPS. So, like, a lot of times you can't think because either you have clients in the car and you're talking to you, or you're on the phone with someone and you're figuring out your conversation, and then you're still going to the appointment. So after thinking about all this, I'm like, the only thing I can do now is get a Tesla.
Why?
Because a Tesla it's one of the most safe cars on the road.
It drives you, right?
It doesn't have on the highway, apparently. I don't know if it does it. I know it has a lot of safety features. So, like, God forbid there's a situation where I make a poor decision, it'll stop the car.
Yep.
So there's safety there. In the future, it'll be self-driving at some point, right? I'm trying to differentiate myself, and I need to lean into, like, I'm the young agent. And what's more young than a Tesla, right?
Yep.
And if everyone's driving their Range Rovers and Bentleys and I show up in a Tesla, at least I can compete, right?
Correct.
Remember we had the conversation?
Yep.
So then I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to lean into that and I'm like big on Bitcoin and, diversifying and leaning into the digital space, then maybe in the future I accept Bitcoin as a payment method and I get that as a marketing tactic. So I can get something in the paper, say the first real estate agent accepting Bitcoin as a payment.
Wow.
Right? So all this stuff, I'm just like, I'm not doing it yet. There's a lot of things you have to figure out to be able to do that. But all this stuff is starting to get more clear of like, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Right now, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do that, trade a car and buy a Tesla. But I like to put it out there because if anyone has experience buying a used Tesla, I would love to know your experience. So I was
just going to ask, are you a believer on leasing? But you drive a lot, so that might be
So I was
tough.
wrong, right? So
But maybe not if you're sticking to Greenwich.
So in the beginning of my career, I didn't want to take on monthly payments, right? And I still, to some extent, don't want to. But then you realize, like, all right, well, it's also what kind of car you're buying. Like the car we bought's great, but it's going to depreciate.
And it could play into business, clearly, in a real estate
So
market.
so like my current car was just, we need a bigger car.
Yep.
You know, our other car's not in good shape. My car was breaking down. We need something safe. Then Dana got her car, which is much bigger, much better than my car, which is fine. I like that. So we have a family car. But now I'm driving this car around where a lot of clients don't drive with me anyway. Some do, but majority won't after all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and then one of my clients I sold a property to has a Tesla. So I started talking to him about it. They're not that expensive.
No, they're not.
And
They're not.
if I'm assuming with tax credits,
Yep.
and then doing it through the company, my real estate company, that I'd be able to do something that's really not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just something I was thinking about that would be a great life short, right? When I almost died in the car, which maybe I didn't. I was just being dramatic.
But
you start
it
thinking,
brought a
you're
lot
like,
of clarity.
But you work 7 days a week and you bust your hump, and then you're driving around, and I'm like, I enjoy the car. I'm not a big car guy, but I'm like, what would I like to drive?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start thinking, you're like, why don't I have that? It's not that much more expensive.
Yep.
If I can justify it as a business expense, which I justify everything as a business expense.
It's a good play, though.
But it's a safety thing too,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
So that's what I've been working on, thinking about lately.
Nice.
Which is overwhelming, I'm sure. Dana, when I talk about this, when we haven't finished our renovation, we're moving money, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but we're going on the offense.
That's it. Yeah, there's a lot of things in the works, and it's good because I think just new opportunities open up. But
How
I like
funny
the
is
thought
it? You're
process.
not the real estate guy, but you're a real estate guy, and you're the one going to buy an investment property, and then I'm out going to buy a car.
Well, let's be clear here. Nothing is set yet.
No, I know.
You know what I
but
mean?
I'm
This is
saying.
just a scenario that literally, when we get off this, we're going to call her together, and I'm going to let you listen in to get some more details on it.
And I just want to make a note. The reason that I still want to buy property. That's our goal. But timeline-wise, I'm like, the market's pretty expensive right now.
Yep.
And I just don't want to compete. And I've seen what's going on, and I'd rather figure out other avenues in the short term and wait for things to correct a little
makes
bit.
sense. I love the play. Current events, all right? Instead of me bringing
can we
two
start?
celebrity gossip ones, I'll bring one celebrity gossip, and then you could fill us in on the other current event.
Okay.
All right? So I don't want to just keep talking Kardashians.
Celebrities.
Yeah. So this one, it's not gossip, but I read an article on Ashley Simpson and Evan Ross.
Okay.
Mike and I went to high school with Evan.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know when I'm sure as he got into Hollywood, he changed his name because it was Evan Ness growing up.
I don't remember him. I mean, I remember you guys hanging out with him in
Yes.
high school.
Yeah,
I don't really
yeah.
remember him in high school.
So, funny story though, like I had just moved up from Mount Vernon, and I had met Evan, right, and his brother Ross. Didn't know kind of who they were, right? They're the sons of Diana Ross.
Wait, he has a brother named Ross?
You didn't know that?
No, so the
Oh.
name's Ross Ross?
Well, Ross Ness.
Oh.
Yeah, so different, same father.
Oh, I do remember when he was
Yeah,
Evan
so then
Ness.
they changed their name though as they got into Hollywood.
Oh.
My first experience with them, again, they were very humble, not knowing who they were. I mean, they pull up in a excursion at the time, right, with a driver to bring us to the school carnival that was going on, and remember the Arch Street dances?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, so we used to roll in this excursion, right? So that's some backstory on Evan. But anyway, he's married to Ashley Simpson, Jessica Simpson's sister.
Yes.
They were talking about how hard it is and how necessary it is to continuously find the time to be romantic with your partner, be emotional with your partner, and they have a brand new baby, 3 weeks old, and then they also have a 5-year-old, and then Ashley has a 12-year-old, I believe, from her first baby daddy, who was Pete Wentz.
Pete Wentz. I thought it was Ryan Cabrera.
No. Fact check us. I don't know.
know.
But anyway, the article was just so good. One, to see Evan out there doing, this Hollywood thing like that. I mean, it's so awesome to see. So happy for them. But as I was reading the article, I'm like, yes, this is it. And they just said the importance of finding the time to still make sure that you're putting the effort into one another. And it's something that Karina and I, we've been struggling with. We make sure every night that we sit down and we watch, an hour of trash TV, and as Mike would call it.
Love it.
Which is our best time. But Karina, just like Dana, she's really had to step up because as I move into this new business opportunity for the job, I haven't finished that process yet. Still in the interview stage. Hopefully more details to come with it. But I've been doing an extreme amount of work with no compensation, so more burden has been going to her. So as I read the article, it was just cool to relate to Evan, and then also to tie it back to to us going to high school together.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's nice to see too. Like even everyone struggles with it.
Yep.
I feel like until you're a parent, you don't like hear about it. I don't know.
Right.
Did you hear? I mean, I guess you see people who are super tired.
Yeah. Well, so you know what? So Andy Frisella, right?
Yeah.
Guy you said
I sent you that
looks
picture.
just-
Did you ever
looks
get that
just
picture
like
I
me?
sent you of him? So funny. He's literally twins.
So he's a badass dude, and he speaks the truth, the damn truth, which is what I love.
Okay.
The only thing that now I realize, he doesn't have children. So when he's speaking on the discipline stuff, I can relate to it very well, right? Like I live my life. I think the most important thing in my life is self-discipline. It's something that has guided me, this point, and I'm looking for that to guide me moving forward. But when he makes the comment like, I don't care if you have kids or not, it doesn't even matter, you don't know because you don't have kids.
Well, it's hilarious because we were saying stuff and people were like, "You have no idea. You don't have any kids."
Correct.
Yet. And we were like, "Yeah, we don't."
Correct. But
Right.
again, not taking anything away from him. But
Yeah.
the one thing to play into your point, the one thing that stops me is knowing that I have a kid, and you want to do everything that Andy's talking about.
Yeah.
He doesn't know because he doesn't have a child that will then throw him off and
Let me play
completely switch
devil's
the day,
advocate. I think people have kids in different ways, right? Like I think people have businesses that might as well be children because it's all
of course.
these employees.
Oh, yeah.
that
Absolutely.
So I think it comes
Well, he
in
said
different
that.
forms.
He said, "You're damn right. I don't have a fucking kid. I have 200."
Yeah.
And
But some
he's a tough
people
dude.
consciously decide not to have children because they have certain things that they want to do that they're
Yes.
like, I don't have the time.
Correct. Oh,
So I don't know.
absolutely.
You can't judge anyone. You give
No,
everyone
no,
credit,
no,
but
no.
it is you definitely underestimate. I don't think it's a bad thing to underestimate how hard things are going to be because I think sometimes if that discourages you from doing them, you won't get to enjoy the fulfillment from it, right?
Yes.
Like having a kid is the hardest thing of all time. It's been the hardest thing for us as a couple and family. But as it gets harder, it gets more rewarding too.
Yes, correct.
Like now that Livy can scurry around, she's like falling off of things, and, which makes you crazy and scared. But it's the best because she has personality.
Yes.
So she can scoot over to you and be like, I have a spoon,
It's funny now how easy the first, 6 months really were.
when they can't move, you're like.
But it was funny because we're coming on here and we're like, yeah, we have infants now, but they're sleeping all the damn time, so it was
Yeah.
easy.
Well, I never thought it was. I thought it was hard the whole time. But what would you do without the walker?
Without so she's
That walker thing is
she's about to
awesome.
start walking though. Like
Yeah.
Callie is, I don't know. She's out of her mind.
Yeah. Well,
No.
I mean, look where she's coming from.
She
That's
really-
when we're like, Livy's nuts. We're like, well,
she really is just out of her mind. And the walker, I mean, it's good because she obviously has bumpers to things.
it's a bumper car
But she's getting so big now
and strong.
that, dude. So I went to pull the utensil drawer out, jammed her right in the head. Because
Really?
ever since I remembered, it would slide right under her head. Now
Yeah.
she's getting tall that it just banged her right in the head.
Yeah, Livy's just under the fridge, and those like doors can
Yes.
do damage.
Oh, I know.
So I like swung it open,
Yep.
and it went. Phew.
And
but, I mean, if she went tippy toes, she might get like a nicked.
yep. And
But
the
you gotta be
cabinets.
careful.
The cabinets are
Nothing's baby
tough. No, it's tough.
So-
She takes everything out. I mean, we have to lock it with the.
I've just been handing.
Just give her everything, right?
In the
Make a
morning,
mess.
yeah. In the morning, like lately, I've been trying to get some real estate stuff done to get ahead of the day, and I've just been handing things. I'm like, all right, there's a spoon. I hand her the spoon.
Yeah.
She just does this for like 2
Yeah.
minutes. I'm like, all right, what else?
What else can I give her? That's like when I change Callie. We give her the remote. We give her the
Yeah.
phone. Like, do whatever you want, just so I can change a damn diaper.
She takes two things and slams them.
Current event. What do you got for me?
So, Disney Plus is on track. Apparently, they are projecting that it's going to surpass Netflix.
Wow, it's good stock to own too.
Yeah,
Disney,
One
like,
of
just in general.
my confidants has been pumping his Disney stock.
Mm.
He's been going big on it. So every time there's a big story, so knowing the following of the podcast, maybe we'll try to pump it a little bit. We don't. This is not financial advice.
Yeah.
We don't do any insider trading. But I thought it was interesting. But then I started thinking it comes back to the argument: is it better to have like quantity or quality? Disney has the powerhouse of the original Disney movies: Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar.
Wow.
Those are monster
Yeah, they're huge.
franchises. So
Big
then you're like,
pillars.
and then Netflix. Have you ever been on Netflix lately? I know you don't
Yes.
watch movies,
Yeah, well, I'm a big,
tons
big
of
doc
junk.
guy. Big doc guy.
but tons of junk.
yes, agreed.
Terrible stuff. It's all. It's a trap of trying to navigate to find a movie. There's like a joke where it's like Netflix and keep looking or something like that.
Because you get stuck in the scroll. Right?
Stuck in the scroll. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, holy hell.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm a
that's
big
good point.
Disney guy. I love Disney.
Yeah,
so
I'm not a huge movie guy, but I've watched Lion King.
That's great.
That's
the thing
a
about
beast.
kids, too, that I kind of think of, like, why is there so much magic in this,
Yep.
in the kids?
Is Sandlot Disney?
Yeah, Sandlot's Disney. They're a powerhouse.
How about Johnny
Benny,
Tsunami?
Benny the Jet.
Johnny
I'm like
Tsunami?
Benny. You're like the kid who couldn't catch.
Listen,
Johnny Tsunami's a great movie. That's
No.
Disney original, though. That's like from
You
TV.
remind me of
Squints?
Squints, a little bit of Squints.
Yeah, he talks a lot of crap.
You definitely
No,
remind
I'm
me
like,
of Squints.
yeah. Frank's like, yeah, because he says,
Yeah.
I call him Frankie 2 times. But I thought that was interesting with the thing about kids that I'm excited for. You know what I was thinking about? Disney, too. I'm excited. I have the nostalgia of rewatching all that stuff with my kids.
How do you think I feel? I'm going to watch it for the first time.
Yeah, that's weird. But I think that's why it's winning is because like all of us who are using the platform
Yep.
are using it for our kids and ourselves.
And it's timeless when you think about
Timeless.
it. Timeless.
Evergreen
Content.
like the No Snooze podcast.
My guy.
If you haven't yet, subscribe. Help
Yes.
us expand. I told people we'd get to 1,000 subscribers a year ago. Yeah, Squints
Yes,
looks just like me.
Squints.
And he's
Squints.
smooth. So that was my current event.
Beautiful.
A little on the business side,
I
but
like it. I like it.
interesting.
That's good
I was
because I
kinda
bring
shocked.
the celeb gossip nonsense and you bring the seriousness.
And I don't know any celebs. You know, you've been on
Rules.
Vanderpump.
Yeah, we had a very long segment on Vanderpump.
Yeah,
It was
you've
all
been
of
on
2
in
seconds.
War Dogs. Oh no, that was Dan Balzerian. But
Good stuff, my brother. All right, no snooze recommendations. Mike, I'm coming in hot.
how do we top last week?
Yeah, well, honestly, you taking your pants off was by far the best part of the podcast.
Can I ask you about the yogurt real quick?
Yeah.
Did you investigate the sugars?
Yeah, but honestly, it doesn't because I don't consume sugars
Yeah.
on a consistent basis like that. For me, having 20 grams of sugar for the day, you know,
All I'm saying is check out
Not
000
bad.
Oikos. Just saying.
is
Check
that
it
the
out.
recommendation today?
No, it's not. But I'm gonna just check it out.
Okay, now you're spot on there. I have these suit jackets have been,
All of his
Oh.
recommendations come out of his suit jacket.
and by the way, this is the suit, Michael.
That's a nice suit.
This is my wedding suit.
Oh, I got your wedding socks on.
Wow,
Look at that.
Look at this.
You want to switch and get back into the mode?
literally? Yeah, man, it's been I don't even know how many.
I was standing in front of Dritan
2014.
Jema, and he was playing with my pocket, trying to get me to laugh the whole time.
Happy birthday!
I
to
wanted
Dre.
to kill him. Happy
Right?
birthday, Dre.
Yes,
I
that's
still
right.
remember that. I was trying not to laugh,
And
and the guy was talking about Star Wars
Yes.
for however long.
Yep.
But anyway, go ahead.
So I'm going in the suit jacket here. The weather is nice. We've spoke about it a couple times, but today I have
Ooh.
brought the Oliva V Milano, a 96 rated cigar, the 2014 #1 cigar of the year, Michael.
That's a beautiful looking cigar.
Yes. The size of it, right? This is a Figurado, meaning it's around 14% body fat, like Mike Pirelli.
Yeah, nice and lean,
nice and lean.
but enough, so you don't get blown away in the wind.
6.5 inches by a 52 ring gauge here.
Wow.
So this has been one of my favorite cigars, honestly, since 2014. But you guys got to check it out. The binder and filler are Nicaragua, right? From Nicaragua. It's got some of the best soil in the world, which is the most important thing in growing tobacco.
Is soil a code word for another thing?
No,
Or
like
soil,
dirt.
Soil.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because that's where.
Well, I don't know. You know how
it's
they
a
have
plant.
sayings for stuff.
Yeah, correct. It's a plant though, but it's a classic smoke. It's consistent every single time. It's smooth and creamy with some notes of leather and coffee.
I was going to say, does go
The
well with
best
coffee?
part is when I drink it with a black coffee, some caramel notes come out.
Do you ever throw a little like a caramel coffee with that?
No, I just go strictly
much.
black coffee because
That's the accent.
Yes, and it's just a really nice compliment to a great cigar. It retails around $14. I just picked up another 5-pack on FamousSmoke.com, and it's actually famous-smoke.com. And for the listeners, you'll get free shipping on your first order of $75 when you head to the website and just enter your email address.
Beautiful. You always come with the coupons.
You know?
I'm impressed. We're going to call you Davey Coupons.
Davey Coupons, I like that.
He's just
But
slinging 'em.
check it out, Oliva V Milano. I can't wait to smoke this bad boy today.
Davey Discounts with another great
Oh,
one.
Davey Deals. That's what my dad calls
Discounts.
me. No, but Davey Deals is what my dad calls me.
Davey
'cause
Deals is good.
He said I just like fall into
Deals. That's a beautiful smoke. I haven't had a cigar in a very long time. And I had a rule with myself. When I have a closing, I get to have at least one cigar.
How about
I've
when you
bunched
close, we
backed
have a
up.
cigar together?
That'd be a good one.
We'll just have
Can we
cigars
go
all
to
the time.
your spot? Whatever
Absolutely.
It is? All right, yeah, I'm in.
I'm in.
We got to get smoking jackets, though, because I'd like to show up in the suit, but I don't want to ruin the suit.
So that's what I do, and then you put it in the back.
Yeah, but do you have a jacket to put on?
Oh, no.
Because
Just
that place is
just
like
a
a
boss
hot
jacket.
box of just...
Yeah, cigars.
Is it absurd to wear a smoking jacket in a cigar lounge?
No, I mean, I probably have an old mink we could pull out for you.
You don't want to mess that one up. An old mink. That's the new mink. My recommendation today is another food item.
Okay.
Doesn't have 0 calories. I know you love zero calorie kid. I've upped my calories so it opens up the food options. This was a recommendation to me by Alyssa Salvo.
Wow.
She said, Mike, you know what? I don't like working out super hard and then going to like a dessert protein shake. And I'm like, you know what? I've never thought about that.
Wow.
But how effing true is that?
Yeah.
You ever think about that?
Yeah, and today after I worked out, I mean, my vanilla Orgain tastes kind of like a dessert.
Why is that? You think they're covering taste?
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's a good point.
But vanilla, mine's like a cappuccino style.
I
triple.
do have, and that's an Isopure product. I have an Isopure caramel, which plays.
And it's good.
Yeah, but it plays into the dessert factor.
I don't know if mine went south, but my Isopure, the chocolate that I used to have all the time, makes me want to throw up now.
Really?
Like I have a visceral reaction to it.
Isopure is a phenomenal company too.
They are great. That
because,
I don't know why I had that.
especially we had spoke about it, just not on the podcast, just off air. But they have a lactose-free product, which is great, but it contains milk. Bizarre.
Because they
take the lactose out of the milk, which is beneficial for somebody like me. Talk to us.
So it's basically me in a bottle. It is protein-packed, low-cal.
Okay.
It's literally what I aspire to be.
I see you.
So it has 40 grams of protein.
That's a lot.
40. That's a ton.
That's
for
big.
this drink.
Yep.
Right? This is mango peach.
Okay.
How many calories do you think is in this?
0.
Yeah. None. No, seriously. Give me a ballpark. Do some math.
I will. So
protein math.
40 grams of protein times 4 calories. So CV, just run that for me. What's 40 times 4?
So you think there's
40,
no other
80,
calories
so
in
160. No. 160. I would say that there's some carbs in there, maybe 10. So that would add another 10 times 4 is 40. So 200. Give me 210 calories.
If we were on The Price is Right, you overshot it.
Oh.
Overshot it. You had the original at 160.
Yeah, because of the 40 grams, and that's it?
0 fat.
0
carb. 0 sugar.
Wow.
80 grams of sodium. That's it.
That's it.
I don't. This
80
can't,
milligrams.
I would like to
80
know.
milligrams? Milligrams.
Milligrams.
Yeah.
What did I say? Grams.
Grams. Yeah, that's a lot.
Milligrams, grams, same thing.
So the only calories are from from protein.
This is
right?
literally just eating protein powder.
That is awesome.
I have to say, Isopure. I know I'm recommending.
So
you.
no carbs.
No carbs. I need. My guy Manny recommended this too when I went there for this certain flavor. I'll be honest, not the best aftertaste.
You've had this before, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
dive in.
Old
you can
school,
have it.
Old school. I can have it
because you are on the downswing and you're getting close. I need to give you that extra good. And I talk to people and they're worried about if stuff is healthy. I'll figure that out after we hit our goal.
So I just took a swig.
Interesting, right?
Nice shot originally.
And then you need water.
And then the aftertaste is a little funky, but I would certainly drink this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How much is this bad boy?
Those were I think it's like $3 a bottle. $2, depending where you get it. I mean, Davy Deals can get it for less, I'm sure.
Well, no, I don't know about that. But so where we get it?
I get that at GNC in Greenwich from my guys.
Manny and Mike.
Anyone with an M in their name, I'm a
That's
big
good.
fan.
Thank you, my brother. So now you just helped me get to my goal.
You need to hammer that a little more because you're looking a little
thin here.
Have you caught yourself in the mirror lately? I caught myself a couple times, and I'm like, are those abs?
I almost sent you. You remember when I sent you the picture of my shirt off?
I'd love to see it.
All right, fine. I'll send it to you.
Are those abs? I look at myself. I'm like, is it the lighting in here?
Yeah.
Are those abs?
I'll show you.
Dana,
this is off air, but you could do your reaction on air.
Dana wants to kill me, by the way, too, because every time I walk in the room with the shirt off, I start to do like the bodybuilder flexes.
So look at it to yourself, and you can give the reaction.
I love your angles if you take things. It's like an aerial. We got like an aerial shirt off, very hairy, and we see there's a couple abs.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's like
Four? You got like 4 big abs.
I know they're big.
It's weird.
They're big.
I bet you could fit like 20 quarters in that belly button. Why is that belly button so deep?
I don't know, man. So you got to talk to my.
What are you hiding there?
My doctor that cut it off.
How much lint accumulates? You want me to show the people?
No, you can't.
Claudio?
Karina's
he keeps
gotta,
pointing. Yeah,
Karina's got to okay
here's
that
what I
first.
think. I think we need to do an unveil of the bodies.
I
at the end
agree.
of the competition.
So if we could just.
Is that weird?
No, I would do a suit jacket. I might put a tie on with no shirt.
No, I'm going no shirt. I think we need to do like an after and be like, all right, this is what we
this is what we look like. All
because then if we're not good, we're going to be embarrassed.
So how? I mean, coming along.
You look good.
All right,
you look good. I think people are going to be. You see your arms, your veiny arms. I know you were skeptical on your bicep. Your bicep look good here.
Well, it maybe the fat is coming off the bicep.
Your veins in your arms are pretty wild. They've
been coming out, but I think that's because I decrease the carbs. And especially when I work out, you get a little dehydrated, so it.
See, I don't know if I'm just a facade of supplements, and it's just going to deflate after this challenge. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the results.
I agree.
Even at 14,
I
I think you'll be.
Oh, absolutely,
surprised.
Absolutely.
I don't know what 10's going to look like. 10 might be scary. Might get a modeling deal. Just from here to here.
That'll be the goal.
Just from neck to hip.
I can model my calves for sure.
You think?
Absolutely.
Can we apply to a modeling gig for just calves?
For just calves? That's like hand models.
Yeah, just calf models. I bet you could, like shoes. Wow, we might have to might spin this off No Snooze calves division.
All right.
We wanted to take a quick second to let you guys know that we partnered with our good friends over at Orgain.com. We're happy to offer our listeners 30% off by entering the code NOSNOOZE30. Again, that's NOSNOOZE30 for 30% off your first order. If you're on the market for a new protein powder, nutritional shake, protein bar, or Mike's favorite, collagen peptides, Orgain is your one-stop shop. As all of you know, my Crohn's disease is currently in remission, and the only protein I use is from Orgain. My personal favorites are the chocolate peanut butter and the vanilla bean. With the code, you can try a 2-pound tub for under $20. Talk about not snoozing. Go get yours today. Now, back to the epi.
All right, so finally to the topic of the day, right?
You took my criticism of your belly button very well.
Thank you. That's all right. We are going to speak on criticism, right?
Yeah, I think it's a terrible idea, but go ahead.
And now, well, criticize me, you.
My parents told me I was too critical. They asked me about their house and layout wise because they're doing some renovations, and I started ripping the certain layout. I was like, I'd probably do this, that, just like not to be rude.
Like
just
when I ripped Alyssa's house.
Yes, but no, not like that. That was like Trojan horse. You'd killed the village. They asked me, and I gave them some pointers, like nothing major. I don't think I was being mean. And my mom and dad are like, "You're way too critical. Like you're so critical about everything."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, where's this coming from?"
Yeah, and I don't think you're a critical.
Do you think
person.
I'm critical?
No.
Got me thinking now,
I'm
though.
extremely critical of myself, and people take what I say sometimes as criticism because a lot of it is truth.
Wait, you're critical on yourself, but other people take it as.
Oh yeah, well,
criticism
I just vomited like a diarrhea of the mouth just there. That was two different ideas. Like I'm extremely critical of
pulled the
myself,
mic on me.
but then sometimes when I give criticism, people.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? They take it in a different way, but I try to be truthful about it. So as I was coming up with the, some points, right? I can really relate it to work too. And one of the first things that I'm going through this process right now, interview process. I'm sitting in front of boards. I'm sitting in front of commissions. I'm basically interviewing for a position, and I am being criticized constantly off of things that have not been done, off of things that need to be done, off of things that have, the previous people have not accomplished that they want accomplished. So I've kind of learned to sit back, and I'll give you the other side of things as a manager myself on what I give. But the first thing that I do is I analyze the quality of the critique.
Oh, I think you're going to say the person.
No, so I'm going to try to apply it to different things. But what I mean by that is, who is the critique coming from? Is it somebody you know what I mean? Is it somebody that is in a position of power to help you? So they're looking to give you feedback and certain criticism. You always want constructive criticism. But the reality is people are not sensitive to your feelings. So you have to really take into account, okay, is this a friend of mine that's really trying to help me out, or is this somebody that's, doesn't have my best interest?
Okay.
Right. So that
what's their motive?
Right. Exactly. So that'd be step one. This one I have a problem with. I will relate. The next two are kind of to my marriage. I've seen some faults on myself. To listen and not defend myself right away.
Yep.
It's extremely tough, right? But you go into what's called the fight or flight response. My initial response always is to fight, right? And I've
You're preaching to the choir.
So it's applicable for us as family men, especially you're around your wife a lot, especially with a new baby. You can criticize one another, but now instead of doing that through my shrinks. Right, and you happen to be
one
of
multiple
my,
now.
Well, you're one of my shrinks.
I'm
right?
paid for this, so I kind of do.
It's been a skill that I've learned, and I'm learning every day. Though instead of the fight or the flight, right? Because you have the fight factor, you have the flight. Like, I get out of here. I'm not trying to listen to you, which is a fault of mine as well. I'm not trying to hear it. Or you have what's also called your boy, Patrick Bet David.
I love him.
He added freeze to it. Fight, flight, freeze. It could be used in a bad way. But in that situation, when I do receive criticism, now I'm conscious of trying to freeze in the moment and listen and not defend myself. What do you think about that?
Not react immediately.
Yes.
Yeah, the not reacting immediately is a skill that has to be worked on. On top of that, not taking things personal and getting emotional is one of the hardest factors of that.
Yes.
So like when you argue in a relationship, the emotion gets in there, which then in turn makes it personal, which then in turn makes more issues. When you have a lack of sleep, then you get more emotional.
Correct.
Which turns into getting personal,
Yep.
So it's like if you can acknowledge it and when it's happening, but it's hard to stop. Right? And even in career, personal life, everything, when you get emotional about decisions, that's when you make poor decisions.
Correct.
I think you can factor in emotion, but it shouldn't be the driver of the decision, and especially in business, because depending on whatever profession you're in, you get feedback from people, and it's not because of you personally, it's because of the results or something to help them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's the less emotional you can get about things, and the more data driven and like, what are the facts? How do we fix it? Like a robot, like an Elon Musk, who he seems like he's an alien. You take something in, you wait, then you figure out the solution.
Correct.
I think that is like what everyone's aspiring to be. But it's the hardest thing to do.
Well said. This big fault of mine, especially in the past, something I'm still working on now, but I've gotten better. Stop adding a false narrative to what's being said. If somebody tells you
overthinking,
or somebody tells me I'm not doing a good job, but they're talking about a specific time, immediately in my head, I'm like, wow, this person thinks I'm terrible. I'm the worst worker in the world. And I add a false narrative to it instead of just focusing on, no, this person is telling me that I just did a poor job and here's why. It's a one-time thing. It's the same in my relationship. And I always say this to Karina, right? Because we'll talk and she'll give me something that she's not happy with, right? And I'll say, I can be so good 99% of the time. And then that one thing that I do wrong, everything goes to shit. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I just want to address the one time that it wasn't good.
Do you think it's because you're an extremist? Like
probably.
Because it sounds similar.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, and she's so right. And hopefully she doesn't watch this.
Yeah,
but,
please, if they're going to watch any episode, watch this one.
But it's just the truth. If she wants to address something with me, my initial response is so much. It's so hard for me to focus on the issue that she's talking about. So instead, I add this false narrative, make it so much bigger than it really is. So something, just so you know, Karina, I'm very conscious of it. I'm working on it every day. I got a shrink here in Mr. Pirelli, right?
I don't know if I'm the ideal person to be talking about relationships. The reaction, like, I don't even know how to say this. I'd rather get criticized for taking action than letting criticism make me inactive and lead to more criticism.
Instead of crippling you.
Right?
Yeah,
crippling. Yeah, good word. That was a good one. Yeah, so like I think about a lot in business. Like things aren't going to work out. Situations won't pan out the way you drew them up. Things won't sell, that type of thing. But I can sleep at night saying I took all the actions I could, and it didn't pan out. Versus like, oh, I'm afraid to make a mistake because I don't want to get criticized.
Yes, you're excellent at that.
I don't know if I'm excellent.
No, you are,
but
definitely.
The more time, the more air and like leeway you have with your time, the more time you have to think. And time to think's fine, but when you're in the action mode, like not thinking and just taking action is when you're in like a flow state. When you're in the zone, when you're in the zone and you're like, getting
I know
things
when I'm
done,
in the zone.
Someone calls in, you handle it smoothly, and like, ooh, that was... Like, where did I pull that one out of? Then you jump to the next task, you knock that out. That's what you all, like, just for efficiency purposes, that's what we want to do. Relationship, personal life, whatever it is. But it's difficult to do. Here's my counterpoint, right? Criticism, people, when they get emotional, react poorly to it, like myself. But if you have no emotion, then you're like a robot when you get home.
Who calls me a robot?
Everyone.
I don't know.
CB. But you know what I'm saying? So, part of the reason I've started to front load my days is because I want to be able to, like, cut it off as best I can. So when I get home and, Livy comes and you smile, then the emotion's back. The key is to be emotional and enjoy and being present, but not take criticism and react as if you're emotional.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
It's very counterintuitive.
Well said.
Because to be present, you need to be emotional.
Yes, 100%. Next thing is, and this is big, it's the intention piece. Realizing when you're receiving the criticism, what the intention is of the other individual, and is there a benefit factor for you receiving this criticism, right? Like, I'm going through this process right now with the interviews, and I'm receiving this criticism, but I know that there's certain people that want me to win. So they're telling me things that are going to help me. And it's good criticism, even though I don't like to hear it. When I sit back and I think, wow, you know what? The benefit of this is me getting this job with a 25% increase in my salary. Yeah, it's more responsibilities, and I'm doing this entire job right now without being compensated. I know that those people are the ones that I want in my corner. So instead of me saying, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're just sitting back and, you're an attorney on this board and you've already been there and you're just giving me criticism. It's like, no, they're trying to get me to level up and be one step closer to them. So it's realizing the benefit, or if there is one, because if there isn't one and somebody's criticizing you, I think you're good at this too. Is you kind of laugh it off. If there's no benefit, right? If there's no benefit to the criticism and somebody tells you something that you're doing wrong without feedback of how to do it right, what are you really doing?
Yeah. I mean, you should consider all criticism, and then, like you're saying, you filter through the BS.
Right.
Then if it's coming from somewhere, then you figure out how to react to it. It's all about, like, not getting stuck. So if someone criticizes, taking it into account and then putting together some action that either addresses it or puts you in a position in the future not to get something similar. But you don't want to change your whole, you don't want to have too drastic of a change just because someone criticized you.
Yep.
You got to be stubborn to some extent.
Correct.
The problem with everything, it's like it's a balance. You can't. There's no. It's like an art with everything. And
criticism is tough, man. It's definitely tough. I mean, it's not something that's easy by any means. But I think I came up with a kind of a separator when it comes to criticism too. And again, as we come up with these topics, I then sit down and think about a process that I go through. And really what I did was I had a staff member that it was a meeting, it was a one-on-one meeting, and she was able to give me constructive criticism on myself. So one, she was able to flip the meeting around and put it back to me, which I liked. But I was then able to take the criticism and request a follow-up so I can know her feedback 3 months from now. I said, I understand what you're saying. I hear you. And I think you're actually right on this topic. Give me 90 days. Let's meet again. So one, it forces me to put a timeline in my head, and it forces me to constantly think. So every time I see this individual, I know that I have to make sure that I am working on what she was requesting.
Can I ask what the criticism was?
Yeah, so it was, I got to try to keep it as
I don't want to get in trouble.
No, it's okay.
Here, let me ask you another question.
Yep.
Would you rather be criticized by one person or a group?
I like private criticism, honestly.
Okay. I think everyone does.
Yeah,
right?
I'd rather the one-on-one. But when
then you don't feel like you're getting embarrassed in front of people.
And it's funny because we're going to lead to later on this week I have a staff development where I'm doing
Group criticism,
attention to detail. So I will be criticizing the entire
really,
the
but
entire
are you pointing
group.
out people?
Right? No. I'm keeping it extremely general.
You're just general.
But
so that's different.
Yes, this conversation was some time ago, but it was along the lines of my supervision style, and it was, and I've spoken to this as a weakness before, but my aggressiveness. Sometimes my approach comes off very aggressive, and especially to a female in the industry, it seemed like I was being extra aggressive, whereas it was something I had to sit back and say, you know what, you can't be a robot. You do have to learn how to be empathetic. So it was an eye opener for me. But when I requested the follow up, I could tell in her head, because she was defensive in the moment. Then she flipped the criticism on me, but I had to take it because it was the truth. Once I requested the follow-up, I saw a switch go off in her head, like just in her eyes, her tone changed. And I could just tell that she appreciated it because she knew that now I was going to take this seriously.
You were taking it seriously.
Long story short, we ended up following up, and now we have a great relationship. But it was something that I think is a separator when it comes to criticism, because if you can apply a timeline in terms of a follow-up to work on it from the individual that gives you the criticism, I think you become that more accountable.
Yeah, that's good. I never thought about like making a future date. Conversation
to address it.
Yeah. See, in like in my work life, or professional life, the criticisms like in the moment, it's high stress. There's a lot of emotion that you try to pull out of it, and it either ends well or it doesn't.
Yes.
There's no middle ground, right?
Sail or no sail,
kind
right?
of. Yeah, there is kind of middle grounds, but it's a lot of like immediate action, which is a little difficult to manage. It's like there's only so much you can do so fast.
Yep.
Like, you said the 90 days thing, which made me think about it. I'm like, yeah, if I had 90 days, I could definitely.
Oh yeah, that's a
lot of
this
time.
thing.
They give me like 5 days, 3 days. We need to sell this. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
So interesting.
No, I mean, yeah, the timeline was of 90 days.
Timeline's a good idea though.
No,
but I'm saying in general that idea makes sense.
I mean, yours could be like, look, give me 3 days, give me 5 days. Let me see if I can, whatever the criticism is, and if you can fix it, you can. But this is something that even in our marriages, right?
Yeah.
Dana tells you something, Karina tells me something, and I'm like, you know what? Instead of fighting this, you're right. I'm going to work on it. Let's touch back in 30 days.
Yeah.
Just to see if I've been able to handle this. And something Karina has done extremely well to hold me accountable is before I go there now, in a negative space after the criticism, she'll be like, remember, this is one of those times.
Go smoke a cigar.
Some people meditate. Yeah, she'll be like, "This is one of those times. You have an opportunity."
You're playing chess.
Listen, man, but it's a reminder to me because I need it. Because then it's a benefit to her if I don't react.
Yeah, you're freezing.
Like a little.
You're freezing before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. And then on top of all this, right? I'll give you some stuff that when I provide constructive criticism. But before I go there, self-criticism. I don't think there's anybody in the world who criticizes themselves more than me, and I do it internally.
Okay.
And to my wife, like absolutely, like
to your wife about yourself.
Yeah, about myself. It's just I've noticed I'm just never happy. And it's a flaw. It's bad. It's not a good thing.
Why is that though? Why?
I don't know, because like I was even saying to CV yesterday, if I get this 10%, I want to be able to come back 2 weeks later and then be even lower than when I waited in the final time.
Yeah, that's fine, but you could be happy with it. You're not happy with the results?
No, I'll be happy with the results, but then in the moment when you receive it, you're like, that's it? You're like, there's no like extra fulfillment.
Well, you're enjoying the journey. That's it's life.
I don't. It's just it's strange. And then even at work, like I especially on Zooms now, this is a little weird, but I'll host meetings, right, and I'll record myself, and I play back the speech that I either gave or the meeting itself to see what it is that I could have done better.
I think that's fine. You just got to you can't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah. And
you
then
can be fanatical, but you don't have to like,
I'm a little, we had a debate yesterday,
OCD?
CV and the OCD versus the discipline.
100%.
Yeah.
You're 100% OCD.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
No doubt about it.
That's what,
it's not a bad thing.
No. We came to that I was OCD. But I just, I don't know. The criticism part was tough. I feel like there was something yesterday that you wanted to touch on, CV, that I was like, bring it up on the podcast.
I think you don't shy away from the criticism, which makes you attract it, which then you in turn give yourself because you don't shy away from it. So you're like, I can criticize myself.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't.
I'm trying to think if like I'm critical of myself. I don't think I'm very critical of myself. I might be more critical of other people, but not in like, I don't know. I don't really think too much about that stuff.
I think the talk that we were talking about was because we did talk about the OCD, and I did say to him that I think that he has been able to maneuver his OCD-ness in a way that is beneficial in a good ways. Because there's ways that people have OCD and they just are all over the place, but he's managed to go and make it for good, right? For benefit. But I think the question that I had was, at what point is it a benefit versus not a benefit? Because even if it is about yourself and for positive, mentally, health-wise, it's never enough. You're never satisfied. So you're always pushing to that extreme that you don't know where you're going, because there's never an end goal. There's never a greener pasture. You're going to reach that greener pasture and you're going to be like, well, this is not enough because I need more.
But I think that's healthy. I don't think I'll ever be like satisfied.
Yeah.
I know. Like I'm enjoying everything, but I don't think, for me, I think that's the excitement of everything is like trying to do
more than you
things.
did the last time.
Maybe not more, just more challenging. Maybe that's where I've fallen short, is like I try to do more versus more challenging, right? Like you can do stuff that is more challenging but not add extra things to your plate.
Yep. And I guess the healthy way for me that I digest criticism is competition.
That's a good point, though, with the mental
space.
In
competition. I'm always in a good space when it's a competitive space. In me, personally.
Yeah. So the
if it's a
competitive
critical, if I take the criticism in a negative way, that's when I attack myself instead of trying to give myself a competition. Competitions I thrive in when it comes to myself. But if I'm attacking myself in a negative way, giving up, I that's what we were talking about. For the past 6 weeks, this is week 1 now. Even through this whole journey, and I know I've spoke about it a little bit on the podcast, but even dating back around 6 weeks ago when I had to jump on the call with you guys, and I told you straight up, look, I'm struggling. I'm in a negative headspace just with everything. I'm overloaded with work. I'm overloaded at home. Baby's not sleeping good. Every excuse in the book that you can think of. And what I had to rely on was my discipline. And that's where then the OCD conversation came in. And I just want to say, though, it finally kicked back in. So for 6 weeks, Mike, I was in a terrible headspace. And I was a little bit transparent with you, but I don't know if I've officially said it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's been the most challenging time. And a lot of it has to do with now with the new opportunity that's coming. I'm working so late at night to where it, like I said, affects Karina. Like you know what it is to be home alone and your wife home alone with the baby.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I could be downstairs from 6 to 10 o'clock at night, but I'm still working, so I'm not available. Then the lack of sleep, the just everything, and I just relied on my discipline to say, you know what, you get up, you work out, you read your books, you listen to your podcast, and it took me 6 weeks to snap out of this damn headspace.
Well, I think it's okay to get overwhelmed, but I think if your schedule, like you tell me, isn't sustainable, you got to do something to change it.
Yes.
Because the best thing we've done for our relationship and with the baby is like trying to put a cutoff to evening showings, and I can't do it all the time, but when I can, it's been helpful. Everything's an extreme situation right now, so it's very difficult. Like it's a pandemic, so all the things that usually work don't work.
Yep.
So, but it's if you can change your schedule and there's something that you do, that takes up an hour of your time that you really wouldn't make a big difference in your happiness, then you just get rid of it. Like there was a bunch of stuff that I was like,
I can't do.
It's not worth it.
I also, what was challenging for me too through this time is I actually found myself complacent. And it's funny, we did the whole topic on complacency now that it's a couple weeks after it kind of settled in and I can talk about it now because I'm kind of through it and I think I have clarity there. But I learned I was able to do my job so well to the point that I really didn't rely. I would rely on a calendar here and there, but I would rely on my written task list. I had to literally ask for help at work from the secretary to actually have access to my calendar to assist my new process, and I needed to come up with a new process. So she's been extremely helpful, but there was a piece of me that was like, you don't need help. Don't ask.
Yeah.
don't ask.
Yeah.
You know, but like you're saying, and like you had told me on even the call, you're like, just ask for help. So it's something that, as a man of pride, you know, you never want to show weakness, but
well, yeah,
time you have to.
But yeah, and you're growing into a new role, which is a lot of bandwidth. Like TV made a good point about mental bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
Like we only have so much decision making, so many things we can knock out in a day.
Yep.
And when you're growing into a new role and learning new things and the chaos of that, or like moving into a new house, you're just bandwidth is shortened,
mm-hmm.
and then you're drained. So it's like there's only attention. Remember that quote I put? The attention.
Yes.
Attention is the biggest currency.
Yep.
It goes for everything.
Yeah.
Like you only
A lot
have a
of people
certain
like that,
amount of attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I mean, I think about certain things every day. I'm like, social media stuff. Like I gotta hire someone. It just doesn't make sense anymore.
Hopefully, the entrepreneurship, we can get you somebody if they get good.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things that you outgrow.
Yep.
That it's hard to let go of because you are OCD and you are critical of yourself in that. So in your head, you're like, I'm going to be super critical if we put someone else in this role. So it's hard to let go of things as you pass them by.
Correct. Oh, well said. You want me to speak on a little bit of my process for others when I give constructive criticism?
Yeah, I would love to hear. I don't know if I'm just like in a headspace where I'm kind of, not to say that I'm on my own, but I'm by myself all day.
Yep.
As far as like work, you know, obviously. Well, this is good. You're making me think other things. Go ahead.
Well, and this would be more relatable to one, either somebody who has a team with them, you know, or if you work for somebody. Your situation is obviously different. You are more
I don't think
on your own.
Like I don't look at it as criticizing. I think of
supervision, really.
Like when you have a partner just talking through things. Like I find myself asking more questions than criticizing.
Correct.
You know?
Yep. But for me, in my industry where I'm at, I do have to provide.
Oh yeah, you're different.
You know what I mean? Because
you're in a leadership role.
and I need performance to rise to a certain level if it's not there. Right? Like we have revenue goals that we have to meet and exceed. If not, my job is on the line.
I guess my question is, could you, when you're talking to people, I'm not saying change your style, but I think a lot of effective people are people that make the people they're talking to and want to get something out of them figure it out for themselves, right? When people think it's their idea, they're a lot more prone to stick to it versus someone else telling you to do something.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I've adopted this now, and it's a little process, and I kind of just wrote it down as I was thinking about it. The first thing that I do immediately is the specific intent. Like if I address the staff, if I address somebody that I'm trying to coach through something, we just had a scenario where, okay, I'll be moving into a new role. Now somebody else needs to move to this role. So I pulled the people who are qualifying for my role, told them, look, my intention is to hire one of you guys in this role, right? So with that, there will have to be times of constructive criticism, and it's for your best interest. So we need to be able to work through this. So my intention was extremely clear, and I think when your intention is clear, something that I've seen is I develop trust. And I have to focus on developing that trust factor, because if somebody doesn't trust you, they're not going to listen to what you're saying, right? Then from there is the respect. I mean, again, there's a certain level of empathy and respect that you have to deliver when you are trying to provide constructive criticism, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean on any level.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to address people as if they're equal.
Now it is a matter of being specific. Hate general criticism. Hate it. Like it needs to be very specific on a certain time, a certain place. Like I know today we're going to be talking about attention to detail. Right? So a scenario that happened, there was a supervisor that was submitting work that was, I don't want to say, it was professional, but there were a lot of errors in it.
What's submitting work? Like reports?
Reports that could go out to the public.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So like a memos, a press release, something like that. Right,
yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yes, I'm going to review the work for you, but at the same time, I want to coach you to be able to be the final eyes and ears of it, so that it doesn't need to be proofed, right? So instead of me being general and being like, yeah, you know, your writing is not up to par, it's like, no, let me jump on the phone with the supervisor and let me tell them my process. And I walk them through word by word by word my editing process. And at the end of it, they were very appreciative and saw the value in what I was trying to do for them. So that's what I mean about specific. Instead of saying, you know what, this work isn't up to par, it's like, no, break it down exactly what needed to be fixed and what could have been better.
Got it. And do you ask them their style too?
I don't edit their style.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Do you say like, oh, what is your current process, and then they talk about it,
Yes.
and then you give your pointers?
Yes, and I was actually able to find out what it is, and it's like this for most people.
How did you say about how did you open the conversation about the lack of skill in the press release, where you're like, listen, I see the work you're doing. It's not up to the caliber I know you're able
No. So I made So I made a phone call and I said, listen, I want to walk you through my process because I did find a couple errors in there that I know was just an oversight on your end, but I want to see if I can bring some clarity to understand your process.
Got it.
Right?
So you assume that it was an oversight by them, not intentional.
Yes. No, of course it's not intentional. I mean, at the end of the day, I think mistakes are going to happen regardless. But if I can understand as somebody in a leadership role where that person went wrong and I can help coach you through it, I think it will benefit the person.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened was I was able to identify spot on. And I said, look, I think you handle too many tasks and your attention to the details get missed because you're worrying about everything that you have to do instead of
I'm guilty of that.
But instead of sitting back after you've written something, going to handle maybe another task and then coming back to that and making sure that your writing is up to the standard of your own personal standards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I literally walked and coached them through that, they were like, damn, I think that's spot on. And it's like that for a lot of people.
Yeah. I have a devil's advocate for do you think that speed of output makes up for the error that is missed, right? Like, do you think it's a numbers game?
I just looked at CV
because he thinks that.
No, we had a conversation right before you walked in.
I think about that because I'm like,
that.
listen, I could send this report out and I can look over it 8 times and I'm sure I'll catch something. But at the end of the day, if I lose that one because they didn't like how I spelled one thing, I don't give a shit.
Of course.
There's a certain time where if you're in an industry where it's speed, you just don't care.
Right. So I think it's both.
Yeah,
there's a combination. I think there's a combination that needs to be addressed because again, if this is a
you can't send it like you just learned how to speak English.
Exactly, and
I'm not
again,
a good English writer, so that's why I'm doing everything on video.
And that's smart
because then I can just send stuff.
If you learn to develop these skills on something that doesn't really, it isn't the most important thing, when it is the important thing, you'll just be so much more likely to put it out. I'm a firm believer that the better employee is somebody that does things quickly and is versatile. For sure. I don't need somebody to submit everything and then take 5 years and send me something that's perfect.
Because that's got to drive you even more crazy,
worse.
right?
That's worse.
Because it's like, I don't care if we didn't hit the deadline. Who cares?
But my supervision style is I give a timeline and I expect the work to be good, but I follow up prior to the timeline to make sure that I can give you proper feedback.
Yeah.
So then you can, I can look at something, I can edit the press release before it goes out, send it back to you, and then you send it back and still in time for the deadline.
Yeah.
Right. But to answer your question, I think it's a balance of the two, knowing when the important, and what because that might be the separator sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
But
you don't know.
My argument again is like, if that's the separator for one client, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
just keep it moving.
Just keep it moving. I think it depends on the industry.
Absolutely. There's a level that you get to of just F it. Like, there's no way I'm gonna make everyone happy. I'm gonna make a certain amount of people happy.
Well, you'll never make everyone happy.
Yeah,
and I can't myself.
But when you come to that realization, it's like, yes, I want to win everything, but I also don't. I want to keep moving forward.
Yes.
And the only way to move forward is to increase your output. So it's like you gotta at some point I have this many days to get the report. If it is what it is.
Yep.
Smart. Because even if I do it perfect, I could already not have the deal because they have someone else anyway. So it's like, it's so hard to make a judgment call versus a habit and a process of just doing what you do.
Yep. And that's what I try to build into people.
Then if you're getting 0 people or whatever, you're closing 0 deals, then it's all right, I got to figure out that I'm not doing it right.
Right.
But if you're still growing, it's like, who cares?
Yep.
I can refine it, but
100%. You always bring that other side.
Well, no, I think it's good stuff. I worry. I think about that stuff, and then I'm like, well, it's great, but it's not realistic for the current situation, And I see it as a downfall for a lot of people in my industry that just keep reworking stuff. And I'm like, you could have got this out to them a week ago, and at least would have had a shot. They already picked who they want, especially with a fast market. It's like, you're not going to get a deal. You know how it is. You call 3 people. One person calls you back first. The second person calls you back second. That first person gets your report out and a price. Second person's, oh, I need another week. Third person finally calls. Third person's out. Second person's out. You're going with first.
Yep.
Just because they're fast.
Mm-hmm.
With everything. Building, right? Contractors, whoever gets back to you first. In your head, you're like, I don't want to deal with someone else. They were the first. I'm going to go with them.
Correct. I think it's also important to keep a open dialogue during that process. So later on in the week, when I do have this conversation about attention to detail, it's an open dialogue, right? It's not just Mike Pirelli, you do this better, da, da, da. You know, it's not like that. It's an open dialogue, and it's again focused on the performance versus the individual.
See, I think I'd rather you talk directly to me and give me a pointer on something specific that I need to work on.
So I am doing a combination of both.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, I
giving-
would rather that. Because the general form's great, but a lot of people think that it's someone else.
Right. But
right?
so what
They're like, I'm not the one.
what I've done to combat exactly what you're saying is
Point at people.
well, I do that, but we also have
No, he says he's subtle. He's like, listen, some of these supervisors, and he
Yes.
looks at someone.
Yes, kind of. But also what I've done is I make sure, and this is a new process for us, I kind of mentioned it on the podcast previously in terms of the supervision style, is having the general meetings and then doing branched off
Breakouts.
one-on-ones. Because on the one-on-ones, I can be super specific to Mike Pirelli's situation, super specific to Dave Regina, you know.
But you laid the foundation with everyone.
Exactly.
Smart.
But it's also one of my biggest problems in the past was focusing on the individuals versus the performance. So I was allowing, if I'd felt a certain way about an individual, I was allowing that to affect the performance automatically. Whereas now I completely remove the individual.
You remove the face.
Remove them. I look at the situation and the performance factor.
Well, you're removing the emotion.
That was one of the biggest separators for me. Because if somebody is late all the time, you have this preconceived notion that this person is a little lazy, right? So then now when they make a lazy mistake, automatically I'm like, yeah, it's because this person is lazy.
And the counter argument is they're late because they work a job in the morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's removing that image completely.
Preconceived notions.
Yes. And it's so hard to do, but when you do it, I just see the growth that happens in other people, and they begin to believe like, wow, this person really wants to help me. You know, and that's always my intention.
Creating a culture.
Exactly.
Love a good culture. Love it.
So I don't know. Ramble.
Yeah, we ramble. We
man.
like to ramble.
Hey, listen, that's what we do on the podcast, right?
So I can't wait till I get criticized when I go home and I freak out and I'm like, damn it, we talked about this.
yeah,
today.
we did this today. This is what we did.
I'm just kidding. Love you, Dana. I tried the foot rubs out.
How'd it go?
We'll ask Dana. Well, next the 50th, say if they're any good. I got to get my quota's going down.
Are we gonna
She got
be-
big into puzzles. She's been puzzling,
Really?
dude.
Is
she used
this-
to give me a hard time.
Is this going to be? Can we do that? Shirts off with the wives there?
Oh wow!
Right?
They oil us
Just-
up. Is that the same timing?
Is it? I don't know.
But they could
We
talk
gotta
about
look.
how we affected their
4
lives.
weeks. Oh wow, it's pretty close.
We could talk about how we affected their lives of not eating with them.
yeah. My wife is going to be like, Dave really
can't
went
wait
out
till
to
this is
dinner
over.
and had a lemon water.
Dana's turning into you and starting to say
Right.
things to me like, you're not going to be able to sustain this. It's just going to be the next fad diet. I'm like, all right, Dave. Like,
Oh man, I don't know. It's tough though. But you do it with that intention. You don't do it to reach the goal.
do what?
Like you'll get on a new fad diet to reach the goal. That's not your intention to do this diet for the rest of your life. You were never intended to, in my perception.
Well, I think I have a system now. I just
Now you have
know
a
I have a
system,
certain
yes.
amount of protein I have to hit. I
And
know
just
my
get it in.
calories, and then I just got to work out. Like
Yes.
now it's very simple, and I made it so complicated.
Are you saying forever?
Yeah, I mean this is going to be easy to maintain. This has been the
Are we
easiest
doing,
diet I've ever done.
Are we doing a gentleman's bet? Over
Gentlemen's bet
unders?
what? I'd bet money. I bet cash. You want to bet? We'll bet.
Kashish.
We'll bet.
I like
A
it.
gentleman bet doesn't mean anything to me.
Can we smoke a good cigar? But I'm kind of.
I lost bets too, and you know I bet.
But I think I'm on his side here.
no, because when you say
That
like
he will sustain this for life?
life
if-
is a very general like
Well, no. But again, so I don't think
that's a 100-year bet.
yeah.
to
But
them.
like I would, me personally, right after this 10%, like I'm not trying to go up to 15%, right? Like I want to walk around at 12%, maybe. You know, so like
I
I'm
want to see
conscious-
maybe. I don't know if so. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. No.
I don't know what. Like I hope we achieve it. I want to achieve it. I think we're going to. It's going to be tough. I'm not gonna lie. Bad timing as far as market, but it might work out well because I don't have time to think. But I would say, even if I don't get there, I think I'm going to continue the journey, see how low I can get. Because I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this low again.
I agree.
I have something for you guys.
Go ahead.
How do you guys feel about this statement? Let me change the camera. How? What's easier, to achieve a goal or to sustain a goal?
Sustain.
No,
I think achieving
easier to sustain a goal.
Sustain. Once you're at a certain level of things, it's easier to sustain. I'm not saying get more. Like, it's harder to go up, but it's easier to sustain because everything's in place. I think getting started is the hardest part.
Definitely getting
100%.
started.
Is that your point?
I was gonna say, like, sustain is way harder. Achieving a goal,
so
you can put your mind to it and just achieve it. But sustaining means you have to be consistent, day in, day out, week in, week out, month.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. I'll give you two examples. Food, diet wise, if you're at a goal or you got to a goal, there's a lot of things in place already that make it harder for you to fall out of that goal, right?
If you stick to the systems.
I have all the equipment in the house. I have all the food in the house.
Yep.
I have certain habits where I drink a certain thing every day. I make the same breakfast. That's a lot harder to fall out of versus starting that and getting to that. Real estate, it's so much harder to start up business than sustain business. At some point, you have a network already. You have clients. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think it's easier than starting it all. You're starting from scratch. You know what I mean? Like, it's like starting up an engine. Once you start up the engine, which is a hard part, you're just pushing it, right? You just got to keep pushing it.
But now, so let me just ask you this on the.
But you
diet.
have to be consistent, though.
Yeah. But
if you don't put gas in the car's going to stop running.
Exactly.
And that's what's hard about it.
But isn't it easier to push a car than start up the car?
Look,
well, car's not a good example.
Well, I have a push start.
I have
a push start.
You can push
so
a
it's
car.
pretty easy.
So you went
That's
from
a nice car.
Let's just
It's a
take
Tesla.
the body fat challenge, right?
Yeah.
You went from 22% all the way down to
23%
all the way down to 10. Is that easier or harder than me being where I was at with the systems, being at 14% trying to get to 10?
I would say, and I'm not to offend you, that's harder to do because I had to start it all up. I didn't have the systems. It's still hard. I'm not saying, but I think I'm not saying me. I'm saying anyone in general starting a new habit or something new is harder than being at somewhere and getting better at it. It's hard. It's very hard.
It's hard. I agree.
But starting,
it is hard,
My
Mike.
point being, like, when you were way at the beginning,
Yep.
starting it's so hard.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you have
yeah.
like this negative momentum that you're fighting against. You have all this doubt.
But in your theory,
But you have a bulletproof mind now because you've done it for so long, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, it's easy in your head. You tell me all the
I
time.
think it's easier to do it. I agree. And that's why I said I think it's easier to do what I do than if you
Exactly.
throw me in a room and you're like, yeah, get through the week with no system.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'd be like,
well, no, I have a system now, but I'm
no,
saying
I know. I'm not comparing it to you. I'm saying me. I'm
getting defensive on the criticism.
I'm just saying on myself.
I like how we recoup and then we both argue at the end.
No. I'm saying for me,
Yeah.
when we go on vacation, unless I put in my head that I plan to just go off the rails, it's hard for me to go off the rails.
Yeah.
So I get exactly what you're saying, but I will also say for us to then be at 10% and say, well, it's going to be just as easy to get to 6%. No, we got to then constantly develop. Like if that's the case, we'll be 0%.
My boy Daryl's telling me, he's like, once you get down there, it's just you have to do more of it. Basically, what we're doing now, you just do more.
Yeah,
it's not rocket science.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Is it not exhausting to continue?
It depends
No,
what you.
I'm really not.
It depends what you decide is exhausting.
I enjoy.
He likes
walking.
doing this. He wants to do it.
I enjoy lifting. Even if I don't lift, I could still walk.
But this is also
this
has been a big realization for you because before you didn't want to find the time.
No, I was using old systems that didn't work in my new schedule.
Gotcha.
So like my system worked, then we had a baby. That system doesn't work anymore. So all my systems now are bulletproof because they work in any scenario.
Can you speak to? And this is, last thing. And then
we're going on
we'll
rant
wrap
tangents.
up.
This is
no.
best part stuff.
Can you speak
candidates.
to
Good questions.
the individual who, again, I always preach. I think fitness is a major thing. I think developing the fitness routine and discipline affects you in a positive way for every aspect of your life. You have openly said on the podcast, for 5 years you didn't work out. What benefits are you seeing?
Didn't work out well. Yeah.
Well, that's what you said. You
Yeah,
said,
absolutely. Absolutely.
So what benefits, if any, are you seeing to developing a morning routine and developing systems that work for you in your place? Has there been a benefit or not?
I think the biggest thing is stress. By working out, discipline's a big one, but I think I'm able to decompress first thing in the morning by doing a action so that when I get into, like, 9 o'clock hits and it's absolute chaos.
And you've already been, but it's good that you've already been up. You've done.
Yeah,
like,
you're 4 hours in, you get a lot knocked out.
It's lunchtime.
But I think having something else to focus on other than work constantly, you know, family, obviously, I always focus on that, but something like a hobby that you're working towards that's not business related, which it kind of still hasn't been enjoyable because it's something that I have woven throughout my day so that even in my craziest day, I'm like, all right, well, I have these showings. I'm going to park down the street. I've done it multiple times. People are like, why'd you park that far? I'm like, oh, I got to get my fitness in.
Yeah,
it's been a long day.
Yep.
So that's been fun, is like figuring out the balance. You know?
Good answer. I'm curious because I always talk on it, and it sounds like I'm a robot in my answers sometimes, but I just know that the benefits are endless, and stress kills. So if you're saying that stress it's so much easier to manage and decompress after something like that, and I know it could be stressful for people to get started, just like Mike was saying, it's the hardest part. But until you really adopt something like that, and then you figure it out and you do what Mike has done and tweak and tweak and tweak until it works for you in your life, I just think everybody would be so much more better off. And I'm not saying you have to go lift like a savage. That's not what I mean. But I do think that there's an important factor to being able to wake up, you know, hydrate, get a workout in, whether it's a walk or a crazy lift, do something active to get the brain going. I just think it's something that is irreplaceable in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've done it. We've said it multiple times, but I think it's probably one of the hardest times ever to do it is during a pandemic, new babies, during construction. So like it's
so many excuses.
There's a lot of excuses that could be had, but I've enjoyed it, and I think it's overflowing into my work life because I'm just so just knocking things out. You know, when you get the momentum of getting things done in the morning, and by 9 o'clock you've done, you know, a bunch like your checklist. The flip side is when you don't get a good workout in the morning, it kind of throws you off.
Funk. Dude, that's me.
And with the babies and stuff, it's like every night, thank God, I mean, Livy's been sleeping decent, but like last night she's up at 3, Dana's with her, and like we wake up, she takes care of her, but I get up, go to the bathroom, and then you're back up at 4:45.
Yep.
And then the baby's up at 6, 6:30, 5:30. So it's like it's been good though. I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's probably not easy for our spouses, but I've enjoyed it.
I know. Commend them. All right. This has been good, but let's move to my favorite section, Dave's Deal of the Week.
Deals. Quick adjustment on that one.
Yeah, right?
My hands are cold.
That's good. That was smart. Yeah, I'm a little chilly too. Never assume that every critic is a hater. Not everyone is hating on you. Some people are telling you the truth. So I looked at CV. My man,
and he gave me the finger.
Give me the bird.
Let me pull mine.
Hey, if the shoe fits, you know, gently put
what size
it on
shoe are you?
And wear it. Size 13. Yeah, he's got some small
mine
feet over there.
Mine kind of says the opposite though.
Look how he got. What are those? It says.
Wow.
Here we go. You're 9.5.
You're ready. He's criticizing your foot
I'm
size.
criticizing it.
It's getting cold cut out.
Did mine not post? Oh yeah, it is. Here it is. Miguelito's mantra.
Ito.
The trouble with most of us is that we would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism.
Beautiful.
Unknown.
I love it. Until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Can we go smoke that cigar? Oh, that was terrible.
That's another Effie in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.